Continuing with the draft analysis series that I've been doing, we're moving on to a guy that a lot of people have going in the 5th round, and I think is actually a sleeper and could be a dark horse candidate for this year's draft. His name is Julius Brents. Starting off with notable stats from 2022, he had 45 tackles, 28 solo tackles, 1 forced fumble, 4 interceptions, and 4 passes deflected as well. Like I said, he was a round 5 guy going into this year's draft, but after the Senior Bowl, his draft stock improved exponentially. Moving on to the pros and cons, I also have some film from the Senior Bowl and also from his 2022 season. While I go through the list, I'll show you some of that as well. Starting off with pros, he has a long wingspan. I think he has the longest wingspan out of all cornerbacks in this draft. And I think he also might be the tallest cornerback in this draft. At least he looks like that on film. He's got fluid hips, amazing body control and balance, strong hands on press coverage, and I actually have some film to show you as well.
Hey, patience. Good job.
Not only is he really good with press coverage, but when he gives space to a wide receiver, his speed and the fact that he's a ball hawk almost always makes up for it as well. This is a great example. Look how much space he gives this guy. About 10 yards, right? And then lets him go, cuts off this route. Look how quick those hips move. Great change in fluidity. And then ball hawk. As you can see, he can also high point a ball. His wingspan and the fact that he's such a tall cornerback, I genuinely do think that he can high point a ball with any wide receiver in this draft class. Will he be able to do that in the NFL? That has yet to be shown. But at this point, I genuinely do think that. Moving on to cons, there are very few, but nonetheless, I do have some concerns. First off, he needs improvement with his footwork, and I'll actually show you a video. This is a perfect example. He wins this. I mean, he definitely cuts off the route. But look at his footwork specifically. He kind of hesitates a bunch. He's a very patient corner, and I think that's also one of his strengths. But sometimes that can also be negative as well. So his footwork definitely needs some improvement, but he also could struggle with more complicated routes. He uses the quarterback's eyes as a crutch a lot of the times. Don't get me wrong, you're supposed to follow the quarterback's eyes, but in the NFL, there are a lot of quarterbacks that will kind of fake you out with their vision. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, the list goes on and on. So it could definitely become a struggle and a worry for a lot of teams. But I don't think that will affect his draft stock. Like I said, I think this guy's a dark horse candidate. So where do I have him going? Honestly, this year's draft class is pretty stacked with cornerbacks, and I just don't see him making it in the first 3 rounds. I think if you get him in the 4th or 5th round, that is an absolute steal. And I think the best team that he would fit with would be the Buffalo Bills, just because they need to get an edge rusher in those first 3 rounds. And I think this guy's just waiting there for him, and they can easily pick him up in the 4th or 5th round.